Hello and welcome to Law Talk. My name is Mitchell Panter and I'm your host. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Panter, Panter and San Pedro, and we're proud to present Law Talk to you. First, a little history. So many years ago, my brother Brett Panter and myself had a law firm, Panter and Panter, before it was Panter, Panter and San Pedro, and we wanted to educate people. We wanted to be able to teach our viewing audience a little bit about the law and activities within our community. So what we did was with WLRN, we had a TV show, and for several years, we would bring on judges and lawyers and people in the community to talk to you, to educate you. Fast forward a bunch of years, we formed what's called the Panter, Panter and San Pedro Network. And this is a group of lawyers that work together to help people. At Panter, Panter and San Pedro, we are a law firm dedicated to protecting Florida's families, but we're also concerned with educating people, with helping in the community. We sponsor various activities. Just this past weekend, we had the Palmetto Bay 20th anniversary, and we were proud sponsors of that. Coming up, we have the Rotary Club Seafood Festival down in Homestead, and we're proud to sponsor that as well. But with this show, what we want to do is we want to educate people. We want to help people. We want to teach them a little bit about the law and areas surrounding the law. I am a proud member of a business group called BNI, and what we do as business leaders and business people in the community is work with each other, help each other. We're strong believers in giving back to the community and talking to one another. So today I'm thrilled to have with us Ken Ross, and I met Ken through the BNI group, and Ken is a great business leader, and we're going to have him talk a little bit about what he does and how it works, and maybe educate us and help us a little bit. Ken, pleasure to meet you. How are you today?
Good morning, Mitch. And I'm looking forward to that seafood festival because I live in Homestead. Being right in my
Great
backyard.
seafood. Yeah, that's next
great.
weekend, just so we're clear. Next weekend, the 12th and the 13th of March down in Homestead. Where's it at? In the arena? I mean, in the where they have the speedway, I think?
Yeah, probably in the Miami.
Somewhere there. So, but look more for that. So Ken, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. I am Ken Ross here. I'm a business consultant that specializes in reducing costs for businesses by looking at their essential expenses. And I do a lot of work in the legal field, actually, with a lot of lawyers. So I'm really looking forward to
Let's start at the basics. You are a business networker extraordinaire. I mean, you are in groups, and you're proud of that. What kind of groups do you belong to, and how'd you get involved in them?
I would say I'm a networking specialist, so to speak. And the way I do that is I really love talking to people. I love hearing about their businesses. Part of being a business consultant is asking questions and getting to know people. So I look for different opportunities for networking events. I set goals for myself to meet certain types of people or a number of people in a given week. And that's really the secret sauce to it, is if you set a goal and you have it in mind, that it kind of will naturally work itself into that. And that's really what,
for benefit of our audience, let's go. I want two definitions: one, business consultant, and two, networking. And you can pick either one and go first with them and tell us what they mean to you and how they work and how our viewing audience can learn a little bit from that.
Sure, no worries. A business consultant really wants to try to give you some great advice that is specific to your business, right? Not just some general thing. Like, there's a lot of general business advice. There's business coaches out there. I don't want to be a business coach. I want to be a consultant who looks at your particular problems and says, this is what I would suggest you look to do, or maybe here's a person or two I want you to connect with, because that's where the networking side of this comes along, is that since I'm such an avid networker, since I spend a lot of time around different areas, and I'm really trying to connect with them, I get to know those businesses just as intimately as other people's businesses. So when I consult to that, it's like, hey, I think this would be a great fit for you guys.
So we formed many years ago what's called the Panter, Panter and San Pedro Network. And literally what we did was we sent out a mailer card to the 8,000 lawyers within Miami-Dade County, and we met individually with each of those people. We talked to them, we spoke to them, we made sure that they were skilled, qualified, competent people in their given field. And that's one of the many types of networking we've done. I met you through the BNI group. I've been involved in the Pinecrest Business Association, Chamber of Commerce. What are some of the groups that you belong to, and what are the differences between those groups that will help people in developing their business?
Absolutely. So when it comes to legal specifically, I'm part of a couple of bar associations, and I'm always looking to network in those different areas or attend those different types of events, as well as Chamber of Commerce's. We're both in BNI, obviously, right? And there are a lot of other virtual type of networks that I get to be a part of, or I try to get a part of a little bit. There are some virtual conferences that I'll be doing some speaking
Well, it's
at.
a different world now. You
Yeah,
even
I
mentioned that
mean,
word virtual 10 years ago.
yeah,
No one knew what that
no
was.
one.
What does that mean to you? What's virtual today? And how does that affect the ability to network with people and meet people?
It really does kind of shrink the world in some sense. That's what virtual would kind of give you, is that idea, that aspect that you can meet virtually with pretty much anyone. I'm connected to a network of 200 other consultants just like me. We all own a franchise license, and we talk to each other on a regular basis. And that virtual connection is very valuable. I basically know these people like they were, in my backyard, but I see them and they're in their areas doing their things, and I can consult with them.
So we have this conversation every week in our BNI meeting as to whether we want to be virtual or whether we want to be right next to each other, talking to one another. I know one of the big things we do in BNI is called a one-to-one.
Yes.
We've done that with our Panter and San Pedro network. That's how we met our people.
Yes.
Was a conference, a meeting, a handshake across. What does that mean to you, and how's the difference? And is it better? Is it worse? How does that work out for you?
I would say there is a big challenge virtually to do business, right? And it still exists, and I think it will exist for quite some time until people are very comfortable with this idea that you can foster a good relationship, a good rapport with someone virtually. Face to face is always a better way. Having a quick lunch or a quick coffee is always a better way. They tell us in our business that in order to save someone really some money and what I specialize in, it's a belly to belly business, right? You don't want to just, hey, call somebody up on the phone and say, hey, let's do this. We're really excited to look into your expenses and ask you all these uncomfortable questions. It's not something people want to do virtually.
Especially virtually.
Yes,
yeah.
It's not something that many people do.
All right. Well, I had an opportunity to have a one-to-one with you and meet with you, and you're really an interesting guy. Give me a little bit about a history. I want to learn a little bit about you, Ken Ross, the man.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Go Cornhuskers, number one. And went to school at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, which is actually the sister school to the University of Nebraska, which everyone knows about. We actually have a pretty good hockey team at the University of Nebraska. So that's where I got my degree in computer science, started my career, and actually was an intern before with the largest payment processor in the world, actually not in North America, but in the world. It was called First Data at the time. And so really my world after college was within like maybe a 6 square block radius. I tell people my college, where I went to work every day for the first like 12 years of my career, and where I grew up, kind of all in that same little area there. So it was kind of nice to really foster a good understanding of who I was as a person.
And you meet people, and you know people. To this day, you're probably still friendly with those people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that
your network, your first network that you had.
My first real network, absolutely. And just loved what I did there, and contributed very well to that. And then I moved on to the railroad. I actually worked for the largest Class 1 railroad in North America. It's called Union Pacific Railroad, and they were downtown Omaha, and I spent time at their headquarters. I worked there.
What'd you do there?
For 3.5 years. I was in IT, okay. And I did a lot of what we call analysis of fuel surcharges, right? Okay. That's one of the biggest costs on the railroad. Actually, it competes with employee costs, is fuel. If you can save 10% of fuel surcharges, that's $140 million to a railroad. So
that's just one little section of it.
That's just one part of it.
And this is the first, your training of where you're learning to save people money and read and understand what's going on within the industry to help it.
I think in some sense, all of my IT career really fits well into what it is that I want to do in business with consulting for cost reduction, because not only did I work for the largest payment processor, I knew about all the different ways that payment processing works. That's one of the categories we do cost reduction on. But fuel surcharges is something that, since the railroad was so stickler about wanting to understand, it's something I can easily apply to one of the other categories of business, which is fuel. And so, I think ultimately in the end, the analysis and the detail and that attention to detail is something that I really want people to understand, that with an IT background, with the background that I have.
Just a little aside, there's baseball in your family. Tell me what that's all about, because it's a really cool story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually related to baseball royalty. So if you know anything about Nebraska sports history, probably the greatest, well, not probably, no, the greatest, undoubtedly the greatest athlete in Nebraska is Bob Gibson, and I'm related to him. I'm his great nephew.
Excellent.
And we used to go to his house on the 4th of July and on Christmas and have a great time.
All right, so take us back to your job now. Law firm. You go into a law firm. What would you do? Let's take Panter, San Pedro. We met and we talked about it. What would you do? How would you do it? How are you going to save me money?
Sure. So my process is actually pretty simple for a business owner, but it's very complicated on my end. And that's, I want to get to know your business. So I'm going to ask you some questions. And I know when we sat down, we talked a lot about how your business runs and how it operates, who the type of people that you trust in the different areas of your expenses, and how you actually go about planning on keeping those expenses low. Because if there's an adage, right? There's an old adage, you can plan to fail if you fail to plan, right?
Mm.
So if you don't have a plan for that, what are you going to do, right? I have a plan. I can look at your business and I can say, hey, look, for these particular categories, if you really don't have a plan, I have one for you.
Well, let's take a few. I've got electric, I've got computer. I don't know if you go into advertising. I've got phones. Take a few of those and tell me what you would do to help me save money.
Yeah. So once we have a good list of all the different categories of spending that you want to save some money on, I can go down through my list, and with my partnership, like I said, I have over 200 other consultants that do consulting with me, and then I have a head office of people, analysts and things like that. I can look at the categories I specialize in first and say, hey, I can streamline saving money in those particular categories.
Give me a few of those categories. What are those categories?
Merchant services is one of them, and that's where I told you my background working for the largest payment processor.
And I'm sorry for people that don't know, what does merchant services mean?
That's anything that has to deal with payments, like credit cards, point of sales. If you do stuff online, so e-commerce, that kind of thing.
Okay,
that's merchant services.
Okay.
Small package shipping is another one. So not letters you mail, but if you mail other correspondence,
FedEx, DHL, those sort of things.
Those types of things. Those are agreements. Those aren't contracts. So there's a lot of leeway there, and some good opportunities to save a lot of money if you don't know where to look, or if you are trying to look in the right places. We can at least find the best place.
All right. So I don't know where to look. Give me another few examples. We've got the merchant services, we've got the FedEx and the DHL.
Yeah.
What kind of questions would you ask of me so that I'm not even looking for, but hey, these are some savings I can give to you?
Absolutely. So in the case of small package shipping, it does vary per category, but in the case of small package shipping, it's, do you have any partnerships with any type of e-commerce platforms? Because there's a lot of savings in that. That's one example. There's also the idea or the thought that if you are shipping on a regular basis, say you're a manufacturing company, and you have different types of shipments, if those shipments are late or they're being delayed for some other reason that's beyond your control, you deserve a refund of some of your fees. And so we actually have special software that will go through all of your bills, and it will calculate how much savings you should get as a result of that, because most shipping providers don't care to give you that refund. They just,
no, of course not.
They care that you got the package there and your customer was happy, right? If that's the case, then they're gonna be like, hey, we're good, right? But you are deserved a refund.
Well, take me into, because we're a law show dealing with lawyers. Give me some examples and ideas of how the lawyers out there, the criminal lawyers, the probate lawyers, the guardianship lawyers, what could they do? How could they use your services? And what are some of the areas that you'd like to discuss with them?
Right. So kind of back to our example, when we sat down and talked, we also talked about telecom, which is another category of specialization that I want to look at. And some of the law clients that I've looked at, some of the people that I actually have, that I'm working with, they may have multiple locations, and they want to consolidate on those multiple locations. They want to take advantage of the fact that they have an office here and an office in another city or another state even, right?
Okay.
We can optimize on that because, like I said, and I hate to keep going back to it, but it's a very good point. I have a network of people all over North America that can help me save the most money in that particular case.
So let's talk a little bit about your network. What is your network actually? You mentioned you have 200 different people. How does that help you? And who are they? Where are they? And how do you guys work together as a team?
No worries. Yeah. So I'm a part of a franchise network called Schooley Mitchell. Kind of sounds like a law firm, actually. A lot of people say that. And all the consultants, all the business consultants, we kind of work under that umbrella, right? And we say, how do we foster good relationships with vendors that are local to that area? Because what you don't want, Mitch, is you don't want to have a vendor who doesn't really invest very much in your business and where you're at in your location and know anything about the trajectory of where business is going local to you.
Right.
I want you to be connected to a person who's gonna spend the time to give you the right service, who's going to feel invested in this area. So I'm going to connect you with that. Now, when it comes to another state or another city, I don't have the ability to be a networker there, but I do have a person who is under my umbrella who does that. And I can go there and I can say, hey, look, what are some good contacts in that area? What are some, what network can I be a part of for that client so that client can have good service?
And where's your community? Where do you work from? Your Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, the Keys? What's your community?
I pretty much just anywhere in Miami-Dade and also looking to expand a little bit down into the Keys. I want to be a real big advocate for businesses in this area. I mean, I know we're in the community newspapers building here, and Grant Miller is all over the place.
Yep.
And he was actually just at Shriver's this weekend. I was like, hey, that's awesome. That's kind of
Grant does everything, goes everywhere,
and he goes everywhere.
We're proud to be part of the community newspaper family, if you will, because they've allowed us to have this show. Continue to work with us. They've always been very supportive. Great networking as well. So let me switch gears for you.
Okay.
COVID, that nasty word. How has that affected you, your business, and other businesses?
Yes. So I actually was awarded my franchise right before the pandemic. So for me, it was quite a big moment for me in my business. And it was right at the beginning there. I literally had operated my business 3 weeks before the pandemic. And I got to the third week and I said, if business is really gonna change dramatically, how do I capitalize on that? How do I even want to continue to do it? And there were some franchise owners who initially had gotten their franchise license and decided, nah, I don't want to do this. And they gave up their license at that point and said, wow. Let's undo this. And they were gracious enough to undo it because, the pandemic was quite robust in a lot of ways. But what has it done for me specifically? Yeah. It's really given me the opportunity to really invest in myself in a lot of ways, because what I want to do is I want to be a resource to people, and I want to get them through a lot of what has happened during this time. And I feel like I've actually done a lot of that work. I've understood where business is. I've invested in the local chamber down south, the South Dade Chamber of Commerce. I've spent a lot of time networking with you guys at BNI,
sure.
Right? Trying to solve some of your issues. I actually taught a lot of folks how to use Zoom via Zoom or via the phone and via Zoom, sure. And getting on their Zoom calls and helping them out. So
but there's got to be, that's a great example. So we've been lately talking about whether we want Zoom or whether we want 3 or 4 of the other different platforms. So how do I pick the best platform that's going to work for me economically as well as technologically and commonalities that everybody's got it? What's the best one of those? Give us a good help.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on other parts of your business. Zoom is kind of a single solution, right? If you go to something like Teams is kind of almost an add-on,
right,
or an enhancement to your Office package. So if you have Microsoft Office, you're heavily invested in a lot of the things that Office or Microsoft has for you, then Teams kind of helps leverage that, and it provides some other tools as well. And then there are, of course, other platforms out there that are smaller that may be a little more economical for maybe even a smaller business.
So you got to look into, because we're 16 people in our firm. We got 5 lawyers. We have Teams, mm-hmm. and Teams enables us to communicate with one another. Mm-hmm. Also, our clients, a lot of clients have the Microsoft and have Teams. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend for your average mom and pop at home kind of business to help them, whether it be a small law firm or even just a general business?
I think at first, initially, Zoom is a good option, because most people, that's what they got familiar with when the pandemic started. It was right. Like, hey, I got to jump on this Zoom call. Everybody has the Zoom client installed already. They know kind of how to navigate it. The free version of Zoom isn't a bad version of Zoom. It's just, if you're going to do something where it's going to require more people, that's when you really
for a longer time. I think Zoom's got limited.
Well, there is a limit. It's 40 minutes
okay.
for more than 2 people, but if it's just 2 people, you have an unlimited amount of time.
Okay.
So you have to kind of know how to navigate it, right?
Okay.
And that's where I'm coming from. Is a lot of the challenges understanding what each solution has, that's different from each other, and I'm able to at least explain that at some level. So that's what I would say. With something like Teams, though, you're really going to have to invest in a license for Microsoft Office. So if you don't have that, don't worry about spending the extra money to do that. Just use the free version of Teams initially,
Okay.
and then start evaluating maybe other solutions. If you're really looking to get into an Office product because you're going to have multiple people that you're going to work with and are all going to want to collaborate together, then that would be a good option. There is a cost that you're going to, for anything, but that cost and what that provides you is got to be worth it in the end. So,
all right. And that's where we would get you. So I guess the next question would be, who are you looking for? Who can you help? Who is your ideal contact, client, person that you can provide some assistance to?
That's a great question, Mitch. I love it because for me, I get to basically tell you what I'm passionate about. And what that means I'm passionate about are people like yourself, honestly, who want to help people in the community. I'd hate to launch into my personal story, but I have a personal feeling that I want people to make a difference in people's lives. And so I want to help businesses that do that. And that's a very robust kind of idea, right? Is like, well, what businesses would that be specifically? Right. Well, one of my best clients is actually a tag agency. It's a family run tag agency, right? Okay. And if you think about getting your tags for your car, right, that could be a very arduous task. It could be something that really frustrates you and it could take you all day. Well, this tag agency has been devoted to serving Homestead for a long time, right? And it's a family run business. I want to help that type of business. I want to help a business that's helping people in the community. Right?
So without giving away your trade secrets, you got the tag agency. They're your client, right? Mm-hmm. What'd you do? How'd you help them? How are you helping them in the past, the present, and the future?
It's really interesting because I actually just ran into the owner of the tag agency this weekend, and it's a robust thing, right? So not only do I have a good relationship with him personally, right, wanting to help him there, business-wise, I am heavily invested in understanding his processes for how he gets his jobs done, how his employees work, right, and then solving those solutions. So one of the things that I can do that most people don't think that they can do is when you actually establish a relationship with me, I talk to your vendor for you. If you have a problem and it's a big problem, I say, hey, look, I know you're busy. I know you have some time where you could try to settle this, but I'm going to settle it for you. So I will call the vendor. I will send them emails. I will annoy them and say, hey, look, this is a problem for your client, for our client now, not just for your client.
Sure.
But I say for our client, because I don't want to see him upset and not being able to fix the problem that he's having. And he doesn't, and obviously for the vendor doesn't want him to be replaced. He doesn't want to be replaced. Sure. So he's going to listen to
client,
me,
yeah.
Right? He's going to understand it. And he's going to ask me questions, and I may actually be able to answer those questions because I have a relationship with I'm just going to
with everybody.
Tim. Yes, I have a relationship with Tim for that,
sure.
For that matter, to know exactly what he's looking for and say, hey, look, this is what we need to solve. You don't have to talk to him. You can talk to me. We can get it sorted out. And he's waiting for us to fix this.
Well, let me ask the big question then. How do you get paid? Because if you're doing all this work, I don't want to have to bill out. So how can I afford as a small business person to hire you?
That's another great question. And I really appreciate that you asked me it. It's one of the best parts of my job is I get to tell people, look, until I put money in your pocket, don't pay me anything. And the way I do that is I optimize on your different categories of business, and we actually split the difference. So for the time that you're dealing with me, if you like what I do and what I'm trying to do for you, we're going to split whatever savings we found based on.
So give me an example. Let's go with DHL or FedEx or something like that. So I'm using them, and because I send out my demand packages, I send out my checks, I request medical records, I do all those sort of things, and we use a lot of FedEx and DHL. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we use this, sometimes we use that. My bill is $500 a month on an average. So mm-hmm. So how do you get paid? How do I save money? Why is it worth it? Why should I hire you?
Right. So that's a great question. We'll look at that bill, for example. It's $500, let's say. On average, we're looking to save around 25 to 28%, right? Whatever 25 to 28% is, let's say it's $100. We're going to split that, me and you, 50-50.
Okay.
Right. Over the term that I'm actually looking at, not only your initial savings, but over the term of the agreement that we're in, over that time as well. I'm going to audit all of those things quarterly. I'm going to make sure that DHL is honest in what they presented to us and said, hey, we're looking to save you this much. This is the target. We didn't meet that target. How do we fix that? Either we're leaving that vendor because I'm going to give you some other options,
Sure.
or we're going to fix it by working with that vendor and saying,
So
hey,
my
look, you
$500 bill is knocked down to $375 because I saved $1.25, and then I pay half of that to you.
Mhm.
So what kind of contract do I enter into you, and how do I work with you? Am I don't want to say stuck, but am I bound to you for years, or cancel? How does your contractual relationship work?
The standard contract for me is 3 years, 50%.
Okay.
And I mean, that seems very fair. It gives me the idea, the
Takes a little bit of time to get
right,
worked up
to get ramped up, and then also to show you value over time. And after those 3 years, you inherit all the savings that I've found, right? So after 3 years, after the final audit, I'm like, here's your final audit, here's your final bill. If you want to continue this relationship, we could do some other evaluations, or you could take even some more suggestions from me and start a new contract. But ultimately, I don't want there to be this pressure, this idea that I'm just out to be in bed with your finances forever, right? I want to establish a good enough relationship that you understand that I actually made a difference in your business and in your bottom line, but that you can inherit that knowledge.
And what if I want to hire you
reputation going
just to do one or two, but not everything? So in my
Yes.
particular circumstance, I got a great relationship with my phone vendor,
Mhm.
and I really don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
But I do with the postage and with the photocopies and with those other different people. How can I do that?
You can actually pick whatever categories you want. I have 6 categories I specialize in.
Give me your 6.
The 6 are merchant services, telecommunications, small package shipping. If you do any type of electronic signature verification, I know in the legal space that's a big thing. We do e-signature evaluation.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
Yes. One of the other ones that I really love is it's waste. That's anything you throw away.
Okay.
And then the last one is business utilities, and it's going to be unfettered business utilities. So something like a fuel surcharge if you have a set of fleet vehicles,
Okay.
or maybe even gas if you're operating like forklifts or anything like that. But I don't imagine
not in our business.
You're not
but
doing
so all of those categories you get involved in. Are there other issues? My depositions. Do you do that, or do you have people that can do that?
So I want to help however I can. So yes, if that is something you want me to look into, I
Right.
will look into it, and I'm not going to ask you for a dime. I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm going to explore this with you because I'm wanting to learn. The biggest part of who I am and what I've been about my whole life is I love to learn about business. I love to learn about a lot of things, really. I know how to fix my own car or a lot of things. I don't know. I'm from the Midwest, so there's a lot of things that
Sure.
Midwesterners do that people down here don't necessarily get involved with. But I learn a lot about those things.
Welcome to Miami.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I want people to be able to know is how to get a hold of you. So Ken, we got a minute left or something. What's the best way to reach you, to get a hold of you? How can they hire you?
Absolutely. So I have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's called I Am Ken Ross. If you search for I Am Ken Ross on YouTube, you will find me there, and you'll see me talk about business and different aspects of business. And I also have a website, IamKenRoss.com, where I have all the links to all the different things that you could.
Is there an office number or phone number?
Yes,
or are we
all
beyond
that stuff is on there.
Okay, it's all there. So one more time, what's the website?
IamKenRoss.com.
Okay.
And then, of course, if you search for I Am Ken Ross on YouTube, I'm going to pop up right away.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you, Ken, for being here today. It's a great opportunity for us to learn a little bit. I want to encourage our viewing audience to reach out to IamKenRoss.com. I've had a chance to meet with Ken over the last year through my BNI connection. Many of our members have. He's saved hundreds of thousands of, I don't want to go millions, but maybe even millions of dollars. Well, you're getting there.
Our franchise has saved $380 million over 20 years. So you can save millions.
Okay, so hundreds of millions of dollars, the franchise. It's a great group, and it's a great opportunity for you to save money. Today's day and age, that's really critical. And any savings that we can do to keep our businesses afloat is really good. If you have any further questions, again, IamKenRoss.com. My name is Mitchell Panter with the law firm of Panter, and San Pedro. We are a law firm dedicated to protecting Florida's families, to educating our community. We want to thank you for listening with us today, and have a great day.